Hi dear. Welcome to your favorite audiobook channel, Wisdom Flicks. 20 life lessons to learn once that will improve your life forever. Discover the 20 life-changing lessons that can transform your everyday struggles into lasting success and happiness. This book isn't just advice. It's your personal guide to building a life you love, one powerful step at a time. Ready to unlock your fullest potential? Press play and start your journey today. Chapter 1. You are responsible for your life. There is a moment in everyone's journey when the truth becomes undeniable. A moment when excuses lose their power, when blame no longer brings relief, and when you finally look in the mirror, not to criticize, but to recognize. That moment is when you realize you are responsible for your life, not your parents, not your past, not your boss, not society. You.it may not feel fair. After all, you didn't choose your circumstances. You didn't ask for your hardships. But here's the hard truth. While you may not be responsible for what happened to you, you are always responsible for how you respond, how you move forward, and how you shape what happens next. This realization is both uncomfortable and liberating. Uncomfortable because it forces you to stop pointing fingers. Liberating because it hands the power back to you. Taking responsibility is not about blaming yourself for everything. It's about taking ownership of your mindset, your actions, and your choices. It's the moment you stop waiting for someone else to save you and start becoming your own rescue. People often wait. They wait for the right time, the right person, the right opportunity. But here's what most never learn. Your life doesn't change when someone else gives you permission. It changes when you do. No one is coming to push you forward, to fix your habits, to chase your dreams for you. That's your job. And it always has been. Responsibility isn't a burden, it's freedom. Because once you accept that it's all on you, you realize that your future is no longer limited by your past. You begin to understand that your life can change, not by chance, but by choice. This shift in thinking transforms everything. That it's the difference between saying, "Why is this happening to me?" and asking, "What can I do about it?" It's the difference between living as a victim of circumstance and stepping into the role of creator, of leader, of author. When you take responsibility, you stop giving your power away. You no longer wait for someone to approve of you. You no longer rely on others to define your worth. You no longer wait for motivation to find you. You show up, even when it's hard, because you've decided that your life is worth showing up for. Yes, there will be setbacks. Yes, there will be unfair moments. But when you take responsibility, you also take control over how you rise after each fall. This is where true growth begins. Growth doesn't happen when you avoid responsibility. It happens when you lean into it, when you say, "I may not have chosen this path, but I will choose how I walk it." Taking responsibility is how you reclaim your voice, your direction, your peace. It's how you stop being a passenger and start driving the vehicle of your life with intention and clarity. And what's most powerful of all, responsibility doesn't just change your life, it changes your identity. You begin to trust yourself. You begin to respect yourself. Because when you show up for yourself day after day, you build inner strength, the kind that doesn't break under pressure. So ask yourself, are you making excuses or are you making progress? Are you waiting for someone to fix it? Or are you becoming the solution? This chapter is a call, a challenge, a reminder that everything you want begins with one decision: to take full responsibility for the life you're building. Not tomorrow, not someday, now. Because your life doesn't change when conditions improve. Your life changes the moment you take ownership of it. That's where the journey begins. Chapter 1. You are responsible for your life. There is a moment in everyone's journey when the truth becomes undeniable. A moment when excuses lose their power, when blame no longer brings relief, and when you finally look in the mirror, not to criticize, but to recognize. That moment is when you realize you are responsible for your life, not your parents, not your past, not your boss, not society. You.it may not feel fair. After all, you didn't choose your circumstances. You didn't ask for your hardships. But here's the hard truth. While you may not be responsible for what happened to you, you are always responsible for how you respond, how you move forward, and how you shape what happens next. This realization is both uncomfortable and liberating. Uncomfortable because it forces you to stop pointing fingers. Liberating, because it hands the power back to you. Taking responsibility is not about blaming yourself for everything. It's about taking ownership of your mindset, your actions, and your choices. It's the moment you stop waiting for someone else to save you and start becoming your own rescue. People often wait. They wait for the right time, the right person, the right opportunity. But here's what most never learn. Your life doesn't change when someone else gives you permission. It changes when you do. No one is coming to push you forward, to fix your habits, to chase your dreams for you. That's your job. And it always has been. Responsibility isn't a burden, it's freedom. Because once you accept that it's all on you, you realize that your future is no longer limited by your past. You begin to understand that your life can change, not by chance, but by choice. This shift in thinking transforms everything. That it's the difference between saying, "Why is this happening to me?" and asking, "What can I do about it?" It's the difference between living as a victim of circumstance and stepping into the role of creator, of leader, of author. When you take responsibility, you stop giving your power away. You no longer wait for someone to approve of you. You no longer rely on others to define your worth. You no longer wait for motivation to find you. You show up, even when it's hard, because you've decided that your life is worth showing up for. Yes, there will be setbacks. Yes, there will be unfair moments. But when you take responsibility, you also take control over how you rise after each fall. This is where true growth begins. Growth doesn't happen when you avoid responsibility. It happens when you lean into it. When you say, "I may not have chosen this path, but I will choose how I walk it." Taking responsibility is how you reclaim your voice, your direction, your peace. It's how you stop being a passenger and start driving the vehicle of your life with intention and clarity. And what's most powerful of all, responsibility doesn't just change your life, it changes your identity. You begin to trust yourself. You begin to respect yourself. Because when you show up for yourself day after day, you build inner strength, the kind that doesn't break under pressure. So ask yourself, are you making excuses, or are you making progress? Are you waiting for someone to fix it, or are you becoming the solution? This chapter is a call, a challenge, a reminder that everything you want begins with one decision: to take full responsibility for the life you're building. Not tomorrow, not someday, now. Because your life doesn't change when conditions improve. Your life changes the moment you take ownership of it. That's where the journey begins. Chapter 2. Time is your most valuable currency. Imagine this. Every morning, you wake up and find a deposit of 86,400 units in your account. The only rule: you must spend it all before the day ends. You can't save it. You can't transfer it to tomorrow. You either use it or lose it. That's what time is. You are given 86,400 seconds every single day. And how you spend those seconds, those precious, fleeting moments, determines the quality of your life. Time is your most valuable currency. More valuable than money. More valuable than possessions. More valuable than status, followers, or likes. Because while all those things can be replaced, time cannot. Once it's gone, it's gone. And yet, most people treat time as if it's limitless. We say things like, "I'll do it later," or "maybe someday," or "when I have more time." But time doesn't pause. It doesn't wait for perfect conditions. It moves forward, whether we use it wisely or waste it carelessly. The truth is, how you spend your time is how you spend your life. There is no such thing as just another day. There are only days invested, or days lost. That it's easy to believe that we're too busy, too overwhelmed, or too distracted to focus on what truly matters. But if we examined our lives honestly, we'd see the truth. We're not short on time. We're just misplacing it. Think about how much time is spent scrolling, comparing, worrying, procrastinating. Think about the hours lost in gossip and negativity, in habits that bring no return. Then ask yourself, what would my life look like if I invested even a fraction of that time into growth, into purpose, into relationships that matter, into creating something meaningful? Time, like money, must be budgeted. But unlike money, you can't earn more of it. You can only spend it better. Highly effective people don't have more time than you. They've just learned to spend theirs with intention. They prioritize. They protect their time from distractions. They say no to the unimportant so they can say yes to what truly moves them forward. The way you use your time tells the world what you value. If you say health matters to you, but spend no time exercising, what message are you really sending? If you claim family is your top priority, but you're always too busy to connect, what does that reflect? You must live in alignment with what matters most. And that begins with how you allocate your time. Let's be clear, time management isn't about cramming more into your schedule. It's about doing less with more focus. It's not about productivity for the sake of being busy. It's about clarity, purpose, and living in a way that leaves no room for regret. Because the greatest loss in life is not money. It's the time we can never get back. Point one day, you'll look back and ask yourself, did I use my time to build a life I'm proud of? Or did I waste it chasing distractions? That's why time is not just currency. It's a mirror. It reflects who you are, what you believe in, and what you truly want. If you want to change your life, start by changing how you spend your time. Here's a powerful truth. Your future is hidden in your daily routine. Every moment is either a deposit toward your dreams or a withdrawal from your potential. Every second spent complaining is a second taken from creating. Every hour spent worrying is an hour you'll never get back. So ask yourself, what is truly worth my time? Because when you give your time, you give your life. It's not something you spend lightly. You only get so many days, so many sunrises, so many chances. Make them count. Prioritize the things that matter. Let go of distractions disguised as obligations. Stop waiting for the right time. It will never come. The right time is now. It has always been now. The people who win at life aren't the ones who had the most time. They're the ones who used the time they had to build, to grow, to love, to live with intention. You don't have to do everything. You just have to do the right things. Protect your time like you protect your future, because they are the same. This is your reminder. Time is not something you find. It's something you honor. And when you start treating time like the rare currency it is, your life will begin to change. Not later, not someday, but today. Chapter 3. Your thoughts create your reality. What if the way you see the world is the way the world becomes? That may sound like a philosophical idea, but in reality, it's one of the most powerful truths you'll ever encounter. Your thoughts shape your life. They influence your emotions, your actions, your decisions, and ultimately, your destiny. Everything you experience in the outside world is filtered through your internal world, your mindset, your perspective, your beliefs. You don't see life as it is. You see it as you are. The lens you look through determines the picture you see. Let's start with something simple. Point 2. People wake up to the same rainy day. One sees it as gloomy, a reason to complain and stay stuck. The other sees it as peaceful, an opportunity to slow down, reflect, or focus. The weather didn't change. Their thoughts did. Your thoughts are like seeds. Plant a negative one, and it grows into doubt, fear, or hesitation. Plant a positive one, and it grows into courage, clarity, and possibility. Whatever you nurture in your mind will eventually show up in your life. This is not wishful thinking. It's psychology. Your brain is wired to confirm what you believe. If you think you're not good enough, your mind will look for proof. If you believe you're capable, your mind will find ways to support that. 2. That's called the confirmation bias. It means you will subconsciously seek out evidence to prove your thoughts right, whether they're empowering or destructive. So here's the question. What kind of reality are you creating with your thoughts? Are you feeding your potential or your limitations? Thoughts are not harmless. A single thought, repeated often enough, becomes a belief. That belief influences how you feel, how you act, what you expect, and what you attract. If you tell yourself, I can't, you'll never try. If you say it's impossible, you'll stop before you start. But if you shift your thoughts, even slightly, everything begins to change. I can't becomes, I'm still learning. It's too hard becomes, it's a challenge worth facing. I don't have time becomes, I can make time for what matters. And that's where your power lives, in the ability to reframe your thoughts. You don't have to control every thought that enters your mind, but you must. Take responsibility for which ones you allow to stay. Your thoughts are guests. You can choose who you invite in and who you ask to leave. Imagine your mind as a garden. Negative thoughts are weeds. They grow quickly and easily if left unchecked. Positive thoughts are like flowers. They need intention, care, and consistency. to thrive. Every time you dwell on fear, comparison, or regret, you're watering the weeds. But every time you choose gratitude, hope, or self-belief, you're cultivating beauty. And like any garden, the more you tend to it, the more it gives back. Changing your thoughts doesn't mean ignoring reality. It means choosing to respond to life in a way that empowers you. It means directing your focus toward what you can control rather than what you can't. That it's easy to become a prisoner of your mind, to let your thoughts run wild, unchecked. But here's the truth. You are not your thoughts. You are the thinker of your thoughts. And that means you have the power to choose, to shift, to rewrite the story playing in your head. It all starts with awareness. Start noticing your internal dialogue. What do you tell yourself when you make a mistake? When you look in the mirror? When you face a setback? Are your thoughts building you or breaking you? Because over time, your thoughts become your identity. Your identity shapes your behavior. And your behavior builds your reality. That if you want to change your life, don't start with your habits. Start with your thoughts. Because your outer world is a reflection of your inner world. The person who believes in their ability to grow, even just a little, will always outpace the one who doubts themselves entirely. Let that sink in. You don't need to have all the answers. You just need to believe that a better version of your life is possible and start thinking in alignment with that belief. And from there, your actions will begin to follow. So today, choose your thoughts with care. Speak to yourself with kindness. Interrupt the patterns that no longer serve you. Replace them with ones that move you forward. Because once you begin to master your thoughts, you begin to master your life. And that is the beginning of real, lasting transformation. Chapter 4. Learn to say no without guilt. There's a word that holds immense power, yet many of us struggle to use it. A simple, two-letter word that can protect your time, your energy, your peace, and your future. That word is no. It may seem small, but learning to say no without guilt is one of the most valuable life lessons you'll ever embrace. Because every time you say yes to something that doesn't serve you, you are, by default, saying no to something that does. For many people, saying no feels wrong. It feels like rejection, like failure, like letting someone down. We've been conditioned to believe that no is negative, selfish, or even rude. That we're somehow better people when we say yes to everything and everyone. But the truth is, a life built on constant people-pleasing will slowly chip away at your identity. Every time you say yes to something you didn't want to do, just to avoid conflict. Every time you say yes to a favor that leaves you overextended. Every time you say yes out of fear instead of clarity. You abandon a piece of yourself. Let's be clear. Saying no doesn't mean you're difficult. It means you're discerning. It means you understand your limits, your priorities, and your values. It means you've stopped overcommitting just to appear agreeable. Because here's the hard truth. If you don't protect your time, your energy, and your focus, someone else will waste it for you. People will always want something from you. Time, attention, energy, support. And while some of those requests are genuine, many of them are simply habits, expectations, or conveniences for others, not responsibilities for you. That's why you must learn to say no with confidence, clarity, and kindness. Not harshly, not defensively, but firmly and without guilt. Let's look at a few things that happen when you start saying no with intention. 1. You create space for what truly matters. Every yes fills a space in your life. And when you say yes too often, your life becomes cluttered, not just physically, but emotionally and mentally. By saying no, you free up space for the things that truly deserve your attention, your goals, your health, your peace, your loved ones. When you say no to the wrong things, you finally have room to say yes to the right ones. Point 2. You reclaim your boundaries. Boundaries are not walls. They are filters. They don't push people away. They protect your priorities. Every time you say no without guilt, you reinforce your boundaries and teach others how to treat you. You stop being taken for granted. You stop feeling resentful. And you start honoring yourself. Point 3. You build self-respect. People often think self-respect comes from achievement or recognition, but it actually begins with alignment. When your actions match your values, when you say no to what doesn't align, you build trust with yourself. You stop being reactive and start being intentional. You stop betraying yourself just to be liked. And slowly, you begin to feel powerful from the inside out. Point 4. You filter out distractions. Not every opportunity is meant for you. Not every invitation deserves your time. When you try to be everywhere and everything, you end up nowhere and nothing. Learning to say no is how you stay focused. It's how you stay on your path without constantly veering off in the name of being polite or agreeable. If it doesn't align with your purpose, your peace, or your progress, it's a number 5. You model strength for others when you say no with confidence. You give others permission to do the same. You model healthy behavior. You show that it's possible to be kind without being a doormat, helpful without being exploited, generous without being depleted. Your strength creates space for others to find theirs. Now, learning to say no doesn't mean you stop helping others. It means you become more intentional about when and how you help. You still show up. You still care. But you no longer compromise your well-being just to avoid discomfort. So, how do you start saying no without guilt? You do it gently, but clearly. You say, "Thank you for thinking of me, but I can't commit to that right now. I really appreciate the offer, but I need to focus on my priorities. I'm honored you asked, but I have to decline. No, thank you." And that's a complete sentence. You don't owe long explanations. You don't need to defend your decision. And you certainly don't have to feel guilty for honoring your own needs. Saying no doesn't make you selfish. It makes you self-aware. And self-awareness is the foundation of a well-lived life. Because at the end of the day, you are responsible for the life you create. And if that life is filled with obligations that exhaust you, relationships that drain you, and choices that don't reflect your values, then you've said yes too many times when you should have said no. You don't have to keep doing that. You can pause. You can breathe. You can remember that every yes costs something. And then you can choose to say yes only to what brings you peace, purpose, and presence. That is the power of saying no. And once you learn how to use it, without guilt, you'll never go back to saying yes out of fear again. Chapter 5. You don't need to have everything figured out. One of the most common and quietly destructive beliefs people carry is this: I should have it all figured out by now. This idea whispers in our minds during sleepless nights. It surfaces when we scroll through social media and compare our lives to the curated highlight reels of others. It tightens its grip when we're between jobs, relationships, or goals, making us feel behind, lost, or inadequate. But here's the truth. You don't need to have everything figured out. Not at 20. Not at 30. Not at 50. Not even at 70. Because life isn't a puzzle that's meant to be solved. It's a journey that's meant to be lived. And trying to figure it all out before taking action is one of the biggest traps you can fall into. We've been taught to believe that clarity comes first, that we need to know exactly where we're going before we begin. But that's not how life works. In reality, clarity comes through action, not overthinking. You don't find your purpose by sitting still and analyzing every possibility. You find it by trying, by failing, by exploring, by living. You learn what works by first learning what doesn't. You discover who you are by stepping into the unknown again and again. The most successful, fulfilled people you admire didn't start their journeys with a perfect map. They started with curiosity, with questions, with courage, and through trial and error, they built their path as they walked it. You don't need a master plan to begin. You need the willingness to move forward, even if it's messy, especially when it's messy, because perfection is a myth. Life doesn't unfold in a straight line. Careers pivot, relationships shift, dreams evolve. You're not supposed to have all the answers. Not yet, and maybe not ever, and that's not a flaw. That's freedom, the pressure to figure it all out. What you're meant to do, who you're supposed to be, where you should be by now, only creates anxiety and self-doubt. It locks you into indecision and keeps you from growing. Here's something. No one tells you enough. It's okay to change your mind. It's okay to outgrow your past dreams. It's okay to not know what's next, because not knowing is not the same as not progressing. Sometimes, the greatest growth comes when you release the need for certainty and learn to trust the process. When you stop asking, "What if I fail?" and start asking, "What might I learn?" That's where strength is built. That's where wisdom grows. You don't need a 10-year plan. You need your next step. Just one, and then another. Think of life as a book you're writing as you go, not a script you have to memorize. There will be chapters that don't make sense until later. There will be plot twists you didn't see coming. There will be edits and rewrites, setbacks and surprises. But if you're brave enough to keep turning the page, you'll find that every chapter, even the confusing ones, serves a purpose that it's easy to look at others and feel behind. But the truth is, there's no universal timeline. There's no single path. There's only your path. And the moment you stop comparing it to someone else's, you begin to walk it with peace and confidence. Don't let the illusion of certainty steal your present. You are allowed to explore. You are allowed to grow slowly. You are allowed to not have it all figured out. In fact, most people are improvising more than they're admitting. They're figuring it out one step at a time, just like you. So give yourself permission to be unfinished, to ask questions, to pivot, to learn as you go. Because the goal is not to have a perfect life plan. The goal is to stay open, to stay curious, to keep showing up, especially when you're unsure. And in time, with grace and persistence, the picture will begin to unfold. Point one lesson. One step, one day at a time. You don't need to have everything figured out to move forward. You just need to start and trust that figuring it out along the way is exactly how life was meant to be lived. Chapter 6. Consistency beats motivation. Every time, there's a common misconception that success is fueled by bursts of motivation, those lightning flashes of energy when you feel ready to conquer the world. But here's a truth that often goes unspoken. Motivation is fleeting, inconsistent, and unreliable. What truly moves you forward, what creates results, is consistency. The myth of motivation is like the weather. Sometimes it's sunny, and sometimes it rains. You might feel incredibly inspired one day, ready to chase your goals with unstoppable passion. But the next day, that fire might be gone. You're tired, distracted, or simply not in the mood. And that's where most people give up. That we live in a culture that romanticizes motivation. We scroll through social media and see highlight reels, people running marathons, waking up at 5 a.m., achieving big wins. It creates the illusion that they're always fired up. But behind every one of those moments is a habit, a routine, a choice to keep going, even when the energy isn't there. Why consistency wins? Consistency is the quiet force that shapes your future. It doesn't scream or demand attention, but it delivers. While motivation comes and goes, consistency is a commitment. It's showing up day after day, even when you don't feel like it. It's choosing discipline over mood and progress over perfection. Consider any great athlete, artist, entrepreneur, or leader. They didn't rely on being in the right mood. They built habits. They created routines. They practiced, trained, and worked, even on days they didn't feel like it. Over time, their consistency became momentum, and that momentum turned into mastery. The power of small, repeated actions. It's easy to underestimate the impact of small efforts. A 10-minute workout, writing a single paragraph, saving a few dollars. These might seem insignificant in the moment, but when repeated consistently, they compound into powerful results. Imagine brushing your teeth only when you feel motivated, or eating healthy once every 2 weeks. It wouldn't do much, right? The same applies to your goals. Whether it's building a business, learning a skill, improving your health, or growing as a person, progress comes from daily actions, not occasional sprints. Building systems that support you to stay consistent. You need systems, not willpower. Willpower runs out. Systems last. A system is a structure that supports your goal. It could be a morning routine that sets your tone for the day, a reminder app that keeps you on track, a calendar that schedules your priorities instead of your distractions. Systems reduce friction. They make it easier to do the right thing and harder to drift off course. James Clear, author of Atomic Habits, puts it simply: you do not rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems. If your environment, mindset, and routine are designed for consistency, success becomes inevitable. Let progress be the reward. One of the biggest mindset shifts you can make is to stop waiting for motivation and start taking pride in showing up. Let the act of doing, of sticking to your path, be the reward. You don't have to crush every workout, write a perfect chapter, or make huge leaps every day. You just have to show up. If you write 200 words a day, in a few months, you'll have a book. If you walk for 20 minutes a day, you'll build strength and stamina. If you practice your craft a little every day, you'll outperform the majority who are waiting to feel ready. On the hard days, there will be days when it's tough, when you're tired, discouraged, or overwhelmed. Those are the days that test your consistency. And those are the days that matter the most. Doing a little on a hard day is more valuable than doing a lot on an easy one. That's because it proves to yourself that you're committed, not just when it's fun, but when it's hard. That's real strength. So even if you can't give 100%, give what you can. A 40% effort on a rough day still counts. You kept your streak alive. You honored your promise to yourself. And that builds self-trust, one of the most powerful forms of personal growth. Final thoughts: motivation may light the spark, but consistency keeps the fire burning. Don't chase the perfect moment to begin. Don't wait to feel inspired. Start now and keep going. Build habits. Create systems. Show up. You don't need to be extraordinary every day. You just need to be consistent, because in the end, it's not what you do once in a while that shapes your life. It's what you do every day, and that's a lesson worth living by. Chapter 7. People show you who they are. Believe them. One of the hardest lessons to learn in life is also one of the simplest. When people show you who they are, believe them. That we often want to see the best in others. We hope that a friend who constantly lets us down will eventually come through, that a partner who's repeatedly dishonest will finally be truthful, or that a colleague who undermines us will one day support us. But the truth is, people reveal their character through their actions, not their words, not their promises, not their apologies. The way they behave is who they are, and it's up to you to listen to what their behavior is telling you. Actions speak louder than words. Words are easy. They can be charming, flattering, and even sincere. But actions? They're the real proof of a person's values and intentions. When someone repeatedly cancels plans with you, even after apologizing and promising to do better, that's a choice they're making. When someone constantly criticizes or belittles you, no matter how nice they act afterward, that behavior reflects something deeper than surface-level charm. The pattern is the truth. And once you learn to observe and trust patterns instead of making excuses, your life will improve drastically. You'll spend less time hoping and more time healing. Less time trying to change people and more time accepting what is. The cost of ignoring the signs. Why do we ignore red flags when they're right in front of us? Because we're emotionally invested. We don't want to believe that someone we care about could harm us. Or we convince ourselves that we're being too sensitive, too dramatic, or too unforgiving. We hope things will change. We remember the good moments and downplay the bad ones. But when we ignore the truth of who someone is, we pay a high price. Emotionally, mentally, and even physically. We drain ourselves trying to make sense of mixed signals. We stick around in unhealthy relationships far longer than we should. And we question our own worth, often blaming ourselves for other people's actions. Recognizing and accepting who someone truly is doesn't mean you hate them or wish them harm. It simply means you're choosing to protect your peace. Trust yourself, not just others. Learning to believe people when they show you who they are is really about learning to trust yourself. Your intuition is one of your most powerful tools. When something feels off, it usually is. When someone repeatedly makes you feel small, anxious, or insecure, that feeling isn't a fluke. It's information. Too often, we silence that voice in favor of giving someone just one more chance. But the truth is, trust is earned, not given freely to those who repeatedly betray it. Trust your gut. Trust your patterns of experience. Trust that you deserve better. Acceptance isn't bitterness. It's freedom. There's a powerful shift that happens when you finally stop trying to change someone and start accepting who they are. You no longer cling to false hope. You no longer waste energy analyzing every interaction or trying to be good enough for them to treat you better. Acceptance doesn't mean you have to keep that person in your life. It simply means you stop fighting reality. You stop bending over backward to make excuses for behavior that hurts you. You start making decisions based on facts, not fantasy. This kind of clarity is liberating. It gives you permission to walk away, to set boundaries, to love from a distance, or to grieve and move on. It helps you reclaim your power, setting boundaries with clarity. Once you begin to trust what people show you about themselves, you'll also learn the importance of boundaries. Boundaries are not about punishing others. They're about protecting yourself. They are a declaration of what you will and will not tolerate. And when set firmly, they help filter out the people who are not meant to stay in your life. You don't need to scream, argue, or beg for someone to treat you right. You simply need to observe. And if what you observe doesn't align with your values, it's okay to step away. Not everyone deserves access to your heart, your time, or your energy. Some will surprise you. Let them. This lesson isn't just about protecting yourself from harmful people. It's also about allowing yourself to be surprised by those who show up consistently, love you unconditionally, and treat you with respect. Sometimes we carry so much emotional baggage from past betrayals that we expect the worst from everyone. But life has a way of placing the right people in your path when you're willing to see clearly. When someone shows you kindness without strings, listen. When someone respects your boundaries, believes in you, and keeps their word, believe them. They're showing you who they are, too. Not everyone is here to hurt you. Some are here to help you heal. Life becomes simpler when you start believing people the first time they reveal themselves. Your life becomes simpler. The drama fades. The confusion clears. You stop trying to decode mixed messages or fix broken situations. You learn to let go, to move on, to make room for people and experiences that match your growth. This kind of clarity is a gift. It protects your peace, boosts your confidence, and sharpens your emotional intelligence. You no longer fall for potential. You wait for consistency. You no longer cling to maybes. You make decisions based on what is. Final reflection in the end. This lesson isn't about becoming cold or distrusting. It's about becoming wise. It's about honoring what you see and refusing to settle for less than you deserve. People show you who they are. Believe them, not because you're cynical, but because you value your peace. Not because you're unforgiving, but because you're growing. Not because you're hard, but because you're finally soft in all the right places, especially with yourself. That is how life improves, one honest observation at a time. Chapter 8. Failure is not the opposite of success. It's part of it. We grow up hearing stories of success, of triumph, of people reaching the top, of victories celebrated. But what's often missing from those stories is the long road of failures, missteps, and setbacks that came first. We're led to believe that failure is a sign of weakness or incompetence, when in reality, failure is an essential stepping stone toward success. Let's break that myth right now. Failure is not the opposite of success. It is a necessary ingredient. You cannot build something meaningful without first risking, falling, learning, and growing. Redefining failure. To understand the true power of failure, you have to redefine it. Failure isn't falling short. Failure is refusing to try. Failure is allowing fear to stop you from acting. Every time you take a step and it doesn't work out the way you hoped, that's not failure. That's education. That's refinement. That's evolution. Imagine an inventor creating a new product. Do you think the first prototype is perfect? Absolutely not. It's often clunky, flawed, even ridiculous. But with every failed version, the creator learns what doesn't work and moves closer to what does. This process is what brings the idea to life. Success is not a straight line. It's a jagged path filled with trial and error. If you expect a perfect, obstacle-free road, you will be discouraged at the first bump. But if you embrace failure as part of the process, you become unstoppable. The stories behind the success. Think about some of the world's most accomplished people. Thomas Edison made over 1,000 unsuccessful attempts at inventing the light bulb. When asked about it, he famously said, "I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work." J.K. Rowling, the author of the Harry Potter series, was rejected by multiple publishers before one finally took a chance on her manuscript. Today, she's one of the most successful authors in history. These are not exceptions. These are the norm. Behind every major success, there's a trail of rejection, hardship, and failures that molded the final result. Failure builds resilience. When you fail, it stings. It can feel personal. But failure also sharpens you. It builds emotional and mental resilience. It teaches humility. It grounds you. It helps you develop the grit to keep moving forward when others give up. People who avoid failure often remain stagnant. They never test their limits or take meaningful risks. But those who welcome it as a companion in their journey become fearless. They know failure is not the end. It's just feedback. Think of a toddler learning to walk. They fall again and again, yet they don't quit. Why? Because failure is not seen as shameful. It's simply part of the process. Somewhere along the way, we lose that mindset. We start fearing embarrassment, judgment, or disappointment. But the truth is, the more you fail, the more you grow. What failure teaches you? Failure gives you something success never will: depth. It teaches you patience, perseverance, clarity, and perspective. Here are just a few things failure can reveal. What doesn't work, saving you time in the future. What you truly care about. If you're willing to keep trying, it's meaningful. Who supports you during hard times. How to adapt, evolve, and pivot your strategy. The strength you didn't know you had. Each failure is a chapter in your story. It's not a period, it's a comma. It's a lesson preparing you for what's next. Normalize and celebrate it instead of fearing failure. Normalize it. Talk about it openly. Share your struggles, your rejections, and your stumbles. This not only empowers others, it frees you from the weight of perfectionism. When we stop hiding our failures, we remove their power over us. Celebrate your courage to try. Every bold move you make is a step forward, even if it doesn't lead to the result you imagined. At least you were in the arena, not watching from the sidelines. How to fail forward. If you're going to fail, and you will, fail forward. Here's how. Reflect without blaming yourself. Ask, what did I learn? Not what's wrong with me. Adjust your strategy. Use the insight to refine your approach. Stay focused on your bigger goal. Failure is a detour, not a dead end. Talk about it. Share your journey. You'll find support and wisdom from others. Try again, and again, and again. Remember, successful people aren't those who never fall. They're the ones who keep standing back up. The final thought: you are not your failures. You are what you do after them. Failure isn't shameful. It's proof that you're daring, growing, and evolving. If you avoid failure, you also avoid your potential. But if you embrace it, learn from it, and keep going, you become unstoppable. Let failure teach you, stretch you, and mold you. Let it become part of your story, not the end of it. Because in the end, failure is not the opposite of success. It's the bridge to it. Chapter 9. Your environment shapes your identity. Imagine walking into a room filled with the scent of fresh coffee, soft music playing in the background, books lining the shelves, and inspiring quotes on the walls. How do you feel? Motivated? Calm? Ready to focus? Now imagine stepping into a cluttered, noisy space where distractions are everywhere and negativity hangs thick in the air. How does that change your mood, your energy, your focus? This simple comparison shows the profound truth that your environment, the physical, social, and emotional space you inhabit, plays a powerful role in shaping who you are. Environment as the silent architect of identity. We often think that our identity is shaped solely by our choices, values, and intentions. And while these are crucial, your environment acts as the silent architect that builds, reinforces, or erodes your identity every day. Your surroundings influence your thoughts, your emotions, and your behaviors, often without you realizing it. They can either support the person you want to become or hold you back from growing into that vision. If you want to understand why you sometimes feel stuck or why certain habits are hard to break, look no further than your environment. The physical environment. Your space reflects your mind. Your physical space sends a message to your brain. A clean, organized, and intentional space promotes clarity, calm, and productivity. On the other hand, cluttered or chaotic surroundings create stress, distraction, and overwhelm. This is why many successful people cultivate environments designed for their goals. Their homes, offices, and workspaces aren't random. They're carefully curated to foster creativity, focus, and well-being. That if your environment feels draining, ask yourself, what in this space encourages me? What distracts or discourages me? How can I adjust my space to better align with who I want to be? Small changes, like clearing your desk, adding natural light, or surrounding yourself with inspiring items, can shift your mindset profoundly. The social environment. The company you keep beyond physical surroundings, the people you spend time with, have an even greater impact on your identity. There's truth in the saying, you become the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. If you surround yourself with motivated, positive, and growth-oriented individuals, their energy becomes contagious. You absorb their habits, mindsets, and even language. Conversely, if your closest company is negative, complacent, or unsupportive, it's easy to fall into those patterns, even if you don't want to. That doesn't mean you must cut off everyone who's imperfect, but it does mean you need to be intentional about your social circle. Seek relationships that challenge you to grow, that inspire you to be better and that support your vision. The emotional environment. What you feed your mind, your environment, also includes what you consume mentally and emotionally. News, social media, books, podcasts, and the internal dialogue you allow. Negative or toxic information can drain your energy and limit your thinking. On the other hand, uplifting, educational, and empowering content fuels growth. Similarly, the stories you tell yourself, the inner environment, either build your confidence or tear it down. If your internal voice is harsh or doubtful, it's a toxic environment that shapes your identity in subtle but profound ways. Designing your environment with purpose. The good news? Your environment isn't fixed. You have the power to design and shape it. Physical. Declutter. Create a dedicated workspace. Add elements that inspire you. Social. Evaluate your relationships. Spend more time with those who uplift you. Set boundaries where needed. Mental. Choose what you read, watch, and listen to carefully. Limit negativity. Feed your mind with growth-oriented content. Internal. Practice self-awareness. Challenge negative thoughts. Cultivate kindness toward yourself. Every small adjustment reinforces the identity you want to claim. Environment influences habit formation. Habits form more easily when your environment supports them. For example, if you want to read more, having books visible and accessible encourages picking one up. If you want to eat healthier, keeping nutritious foods within reach makes it easier to make better choices. Conversely, if your environment is full of distractions, temptations, or reminders of old habits, breaking free becomes much harder. This is why so many people who struggle with change often overlook the environment. They focus on willpower alone, which is limited, rather than adjusting their environment, which is powerful. Recognizing toxic environments. Sometimes your environment isn't just unhelpful, it's actively harmful. Toxic relationships, stressful workspaces, or living situations that trigger anxiety can damage your sense of self and hold you back from your potential. If you find yourself constantly drained, anxious, or doubting yourself, take a close look at what or who might be contributing to that. Changing your environment might mean tough decisions, setting firmer boundaries, seeking new social circles, or even relocating. But prioritizing your mental, emotional, and physical health is essential. The ripple effect of environment. Changing your environment doesn't just change your identity, it changes your entire life. When your environment supports your goals and values, you naturally make better decisions, experience more joy, and attract opportunities aligned with who you're becoming. Your environment becomes a reflection of your inner growth and a catalyst for it. Final thoughts. Your environment is not just a backdrop for your life. It is a powerful force that shapes your thoughts, habits, and identity every day. Take ownership of the spaces and people you allow into your life. Curate them with care and purpose. Create a physical, social, and mental environment that supports the best version of you. Because when your environment aligns with your vision, becoming who you want to be becomes easier and more natural. Remember, you are not just shaped by your environment, you can shape it. And in doing so, you shape yourself. Chapter 9. Your environment shapes your identity. Imagine walking into a room filled with the scent of fresh coffee, soft music playing in the background, books lining the shelves, and inspiring quotes on the walls. How do you feel? Motivated? Calm? Ready to focus? Now imagine stepping into a cluttered, noisy space where distractions are everywhere and negativity hangs thick in the air. How does that change your mood, your energy, your focus? This simple comparison shows the profound truth that your environment, the physical, social, and emotional space you inhabit, plays a powerful role in shaping who you are. Environment as the silent architect of identity. We often think that our identity is shaped solely by our choices, values, and intentions. And while these are crucial, your environment acts as the silent architect that builds, reinforces, or erodes your identity every day. Your surroundings influence your thoughts, your emotions, and your behaviors often without you realizing it. They can either support the person you want to become or hold you back from growing into that vision. If you want to understand why you sometimes feel stuck or why certain habits are hard to break, look no further than your environment. The physical environment. Your space reflects your mind. Your physical space sends a message to your brain. A clean, organized, and intentional space promotes clarity, calm, and productivity. On the other hand, Cluttered or chaotic surroundings create stress, distraction, and overwhelm. This is why many successful people cultivate environments designed for their goals. Their homes, offices, and workspaces aren't random. They're carefully curated to foster creativity, focus, and well-being. That if your environment feels draining, ask yourself, what in this space encourages me? What distracts or discourages me? How can I adjust my space to better align with who I want to be? Small changes, like clearing your desk, adding natural light, or surrounding yourself with inspiring items, can shift your mindset profoundly. The social environment, the company you keep beyond physical surroundings, the people you spend time with have an even greater impact on your identity. There's truth in the saying, you become the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. If you surround yourself with motivated, positive, and growth-oriented individuals, their energy becomes contagious. You absorb their habits, mindsets, and even language. Conversely, if your closest company is negative, complacent, or unsupportive, it's easy to fall into those patterns, even if you don't want to. That doesn't mean you must cut off everyone who's imperfect, but it does mean you need to be intentional about your social circle. Seek relationships that challenge you to grow, that inspire you to be better, and that support your vision. The emotional environment. What you feed your mind, your environment, also includes what you consume mentally and emotionally. News, social media, books, podcasts, and the internal dialogue you allow. Negative or toxic information can drain your energy and limit your thinking. On the other hand, uplifting, educational, and empowering content fuels growth. Similarly, the stories you tell yourself, the inner environment, either build your confidence or tear it down. If your internal voice is harsh or doubtful, it's a toxic environment that shapes your identity in subtle but profound ways. Designing your environment with purpose. The good news? Your environment isn't fixed. You have the power to design and shape it. Physical. Declutter. Create a dedicated workspace. Add elements that inspire you. Social. Evaluate your relationships. Spend more time with those who uplift you. Set boundaries where needed. Mental. Choose what you read, watch, and listen to carefully. Limit negativity. Feed your mind with growth-oriented content. Internal. Practice self-awareness. Challenge negative thoughts. Cultivate kindness toward yourself. Every small adjustment reinforces the identity you want to claim. Environment influences habit formation. Habits form more easily when your environment supports them. For example, if you want to read more, having books visible and accessible encourages picking one up. If you want to eat healthier, keeping nutritious foods within reach makes it easier to make better choices. Conversely, if your environment is full of distractions, temptations, or reminders of old habits, breaking free becomes much harder. This is why so many people who struggle with change often overlook the environment. They focus on willpower alone, which is limited, rather than adjusting their environment, which is powerful. Recognizing toxic environments. Sometimes your environment isn't just unhelpful, it's actively harmful. Toxic relationships, stressful workspaces, or living situations that trigger anxiety can damage your sense of self and hold you back from your potential. If you find yourself constantly drained, anxious, or doubting yourself, take a close look at what or who might be contributing to that. Changing your environment might mean tough decisions, setting firmer boundaries, seeking new social circles, or even relocating. But prioritizing your mental, emotional, and physical health is essential. The ripple effect of environment. Changing your environment doesn't just change your identity, it changes your entire life. When your environment supports your goals and values, you naturally make better decisions, experience more joy, and attract opportunities aligned with who you're becoming. Your environment becomes a reflection of your inner growth and a catalyst for it. Final thoughts. Your environment is not just a backdrop for your life. It is a powerful force that shapes your thoughts, habits, and identity every day. Take ownership of the spaces and people you allow into your life. Curate them with care and purpose. Create a physical, social, and mental environment that supports the best version of you. Because when your environment aligns with your vision, becoming who you want to be becomes easier and more natural. Remember, you are not just shaped by your environment, you can shape it. And in doing so, you shape yourself. Chapter 11. Happiness is a byproduct. not a destination. Many of us spend our lives chasing happiness as if it's a distant place we can arrive at, a finish line, a milestone, or a reward for all the hard work and sacrifices we make. We imagine that once we get the perfect job, the ideal relationship, or reach a certain status, happiness will finally settle in, permanent and unwavering. But here's a powerful truth that changes everything. Happiness is not a destination to be reached. It's a byproduct of how you live your life. The problem with chasing happiness: when happiness is framed as a goal, it becomes elusive. We set conditions for it. I'll be happy when, and fill in the blank with achievements, possessions, or approvals from others. This mindset traps us in an endless cycle of waiting and striving, often overlooking the present moment. This future happiness paradox leads to dissatisfaction, because even after achieving those milestones, many people find that happiness fades quickly, replaced by new goals or worries. The joy they expected from success feels temporary, or worse, hollow. Happiness as a byproduct. Instead of viewing happiness as something to capture, consider it a natural byproduct of meaningful living. It arises when your actions align with your values, when you cultivate gratitude, and when you nurture connection. When you engage deeply in work or activities that matter to you, when you invest in relationships, growth, and kindness, happiness follows as a natural consequence. It's not something you chase directly, but something that grows in the soil of purpose, presence, and authenticity. The science behind it: psychologists and researchers have found that people who pursue happiness directly, focusing solely on feeling good, often experience less satisfaction than those who pursue meaningful goals. This is because happiness, tied to fleeting pleasures or external circumstances, is unstable. True contentment is linked to living a life of purpose, cultivating resilience, and practicing acceptance. These create an inner environment where happiness can flourish, even amidst challenges. Finding joy in the journey: when you shift your mindset from chasing happiness to living well, you begin to notice joy in small moments. The smile of a loved one, the warmth of sunlight on your skin, the satisfaction of completing a task, the peace in breathing deeply during a stressful moment. These moments are not distractions from happiness. They are happiness in its raw, authentic form. Learning to appreciate these everyday joys is a key to lasting fulfillment. Gratitude as the gateway. Gratitude is one of the most powerful tools for cultivating happiness as a byproduct. When you consciously acknowledge what you have, your health, relationships, opportunities, you create a positive feedback loop in your brain. This shifts your focus from scarcity to abundance. Practicing gratitude regularly rewires your brain to see life's blessings, even in difficult times. It doesn't ignore pain or struggle, but it balances them with recognition of good. Embracing challenges with acceptance. Happiness is not about avoiding hardship. In fact, acceptance of life's ups and downs is essential. When you resist reality, you suffer more. When you accept it, embracing both joy and sorrow, you create space for peace. This acceptance is not passive resignation. It's an active choice to engage fully with life as it is, not as you wish it to be. Paradoxically, this openness often leads to deeper happiness than chasing a perfect, problem-free existence. How purpose fuels happiness. Purpose is the compass that guides you toward a meaningful life. When your daily actions align with your deeper values, you experience satisfaction that transcends momentary pleasure. Purpose doesn't have to be grandiose. It can be as simple as caring for others, creating beauty, or contributing to your community. Purpose fuels motivation and resilience, and happiness grows naturally as a result. Stop chasing, start living. The key takeaway is to stop treating happiness as a prize to be won in the future. Instead, focus on living well today. Engage in activities that align with your values. Cultivate meaningful relationships. Practice gratitude and mindfulness. Accept life's imperfections. Pursue purpose over pleasure. When you do this, happiness will find you, not as a distant destination, but as a faithful companion on your journey. Final reflection: happiness is not a finish line, but the echo of a life well lived. It's the quiet, steady rhythm beneath the noise of striving and waiting. You don't need to chase happiness. You need to build a life that naturally produces it. And when you do, you'll find that happiness was never a destination. It was the byproduct all along. Chapter 12. Let go of what you can't control. One of the greatest sources of stress, anxiety, and frustration in life is the desire to control things beyond our reach. Whether it's other people's opinions, unexpected events, or outcomes that depend on countless variables, trying to manage the uncontrollable drains our energy and robs us of peace. Learning to let go of what you can't control is not about giving up or being passive. It's about focusing your energy on what truly matters, what lies within your power, and freeing yourself from unnecessary suffering. The illusion of control. From a young age, we are taught that control is a sign of strength, success, and safety. We strive to manage every detail, predict every outcome, and avoid surprises. But life is inherently uncertain. The more you resist that reality, the more you set yourself up for disappointment. Trying to control the uncontrollable is like trying to hold water in your hands. It slips through your fingers, no matter how tightly you grasp. The cost of clinging to control. Holding on tightly to things beyond your control costs you in many ways. Emotional exhaustion, constant worry and frustration. Wear you down. Missed opportunities. Fear of uncertainty stops you from taking risks. Relationship strain. Trying to control others creates tension and resentment. Loss of presence. Your mind gets stuck in the what-ifs instead of the what-is. Reduced resilience. When unexpected things happen, you feel overwhelmed rather than adaptable. Recognizing these costs is the first step toward releasing control. Focus on your circle of influence. Stephen Covey's concept of the circle of influence offers a practical framework here. Your life can be divided into things you can control, your thoughts, attitudes, actions, and choices. Things you can influence, other people's opinions, certain situations where you have some sway. Things you can't control, the weather, past events, other people's decisions, outcomes dependent on chance. The key is to invest your time and energy into your circle of control and, when appropriate, your circle of influence. Accepting the rest frees you from unnecessary struggle. The power of acceptance. Acceptance doesn't mean resignation or giving up on your goals. It means acknowledging reality as it is, rather than how you wish it to be. When you accept what you cannot control, you create space for peace and clarity. You stop fighting against the inevitable and start directing your energy toward productive action. This acceptance builds emotional resilience. It cushions you against life's ups and downs instead of letting them knock you off balance. How to let go. Letting go is a skill that takes practice. Here are steps to help you. Identify what's out of your control. Write down worries or situations you're obsessing over. Ask yourself, can I take meaningful action here? If no, then it's time to release. Practice mindfulness. Focus on the present moment instead of future uncertainties. Change your language. Replace "I have to control" with "I choose to focus on what I can." Create healthy boundaries. Stop trying to fix others or force outcomes. Cultivate trust. Trust yourself to handle whatever comes, even if it's unexpected. The freedom in surrender. Paradoxically, letting go of control gives you more power. When you surrender the need to control everything, you regain energy, creativity, and perspective. You become flexible and open to new possibilities. You can respond rather than react. You move from fear to faith. This doesn't mean you become passive. It means you become purposeful, directing your focus on actions that matter and releasing what doesn't. Embracing uncertain. Life's unpredictability can be scary, but it's also what makes it vibrant and full of opportunity. When you learn to live comfortably with uncertainty, you find a deeper sense of peace and confidence. Instead of fearing the unknown, you begin to see it as a space of possibility, a place where growth, change, and surprise happen. Final thoughts. Letting go of what you can't control is a profound act of self-care and wisdom. It frees you from unnecessary suffering and opens the door to peace, resilience, and freedom. Your energy is precious. Spend it where it counts, on your thoughts, your actions, your values. Accept what is, release what isn't yours to carry, and trust that you have the strength to navigate whatever life brings. Because real power comes not from control, but from surrender. Chapter 13. Comparison is the thief of joy. In a world fueled by social media, highlight reels, and constant connection, It's easier than ever to fall into the trap of comparing yourself to others. We scroll through carefully curated images of success, happiness, and perfection, and it feels impossible not to measure our own lives against these edited snapshots. But comparison, especially when it's constant and unkind, steals one of life's most precious gifts, joy. Why we compare comparison is a natural human instinct. Our brains are wired to assess our social standing, capabilities, and achievements relative to those around us. This instinct once helped our ancestors survive and thrive, but in the modern world, this tendency often backfires. Instead of motivating us, it leads to feelings of inadequacy, envy, and low self-worth. When we compare, we often focus on what we lack, rather than appreciating what we have. The illusion of others' perfection. One of the most damaging aspects of comparison is that it's usually based on incomplete information. Social media profiles and public personas show only the best moments, the successes, the smiles, the celebrations. Behind every perfect photo is a reality full of struggles, doubts, and imperfections that rarely get shared. Comparing your behind the scenes with someone else's highlight reel is a recipe for unhappiness. Remember, nobody's life is as flawless as it seems online. The cost of comparison: when you compare yourself to others, you undermine your confidence and self-esteem. Distract yourself from your own goals and values. Feel resentment or jealousy toward others. Lose sight of your unique strengths and journey. Experience increased stress and dissatisfaction. Comparison shifts your focus away from gratitude and growth and pulls you into a negative spiral. Embracing your own path. Your journey is yours alone. No two people have the exact same starting point, circumstances, challenges, or goals. Trying to measure your progress against someone else's only blinds you to your own growth. Instead, shift your focus inward. Celebrate your milestones, no matter how small. Appreciate your efforts and the unique qualities that make you who you are. When you accept that your path is different and equally valuable, you reclaim your joy. Use comparison as inspiration, not judgment. Comparison isn't inherently bad. It can be a source of inspiration and motivation if used wisely. Look to others to learn, grow, and set goals, but never to diminish your own worth. Admire the hard work behind someone's success and ask, what can I learn from this? Rather than, why don't I have that? When comparison becomes curiosity and respect rather than envy and judgment, it can fuel positive change, cultivating self-compassion. One of the most effective ways to combat the thief of joy is through self-compassion. Treat yourself with the same kindness and understanding you would offer a close friend. Recognize that everyone struggles, everyone makes mistakes, and everyone grows at their own pace. When you practice self-compassion, you create an inner environment that fosters confidence and happiness, no matter what others are doing. Practical steps to break free from comparison: limit your exposure to social media or unfollow accounts that trigger negative feelings. Keep a gratitude journal focused on your achievements and blessings. Set personal goals that align with your values, not societal expectations. Celebrate others' successes without attaching them to your self-worth. Practice mindfulness to stay present and grounded. Remind yourself regularly that your worth is inherent and not dependent on external measures. Final thoughts: comparison is a silent thief that steals your joy and peace, replacing it with doubt and dissatisfaction. But you have the power to lock the door on this thief by focusing on your own journey, practicing gratitude, and cultivating self-compassion. When you stop comparing, you open the door to authentic happiness, rooted in self-acceptance, growth, and appreciation for the unique life only you can live. Remember, your joy is yours to keep. Don't let comparison steal it away. Chapter 14. Forgiveness frees you, not them. Forgiveness is one of the most misunderstood and deeply powerful acts a person can choose to make. Often, we think of forgiveness as something we do for someone else, an act of kindness to the person who wronged us, or a way to mend broken relationships. But the truth is far more profound. Forgiveness frees you, not them. The weight of holding on when someone hurts you, whether through betrayal, insult, neglect, or any other wound, your natural response is often to hold on to that pain. You replay the hurtful event, nurture resentment, and perhaps even seek revenge or justice. But holding on to anger and bitterness is like carrying a heavy burden that only weighs you down. The person who caused the hurt may have moved on, indifferent or unaware. Meanwhile, you remain trapped, emotionally stuck, and drained. Unforgiveness is an emotional prison of your own making. What forgiveness is, and ISNT forgiveness does not mean forgetting the hurt or pretending it never happened. It's not excusing bad behavior or allowing someone to harm you again. It's not about denying your feelings or rushing to reconcile. Instead, forgiveness is a conscious decision to release the hold that pain, anger, or resentment has on you. It's choosing peace over bitterness, healing over hatred. Forgiveness is about reclaiming your emotional freedom. Why forgiveness frees you by forgiving? You untangle yourself from the negative emotions that chain you to the past. You stop reliving the wound and stop letting it define your present and future. Forgiveness allows you to heal internally, restoring your peace of mind and emotional balance. It's an act of self-love and self-care. When you forgive, you open up space in your heart and mind to grow, to love, and to experience joy again. The science behind forgiveness studies in psychology show that forgiveness has tangible health benefits: lower levels of stress and anxiety, reduced risk of depression, improved cardiovascular health, enhanced immune function, better sleep quality. The mind-body connection is clear. Harboring resentment harms your well-being, while forgiveness promotes healing. Forgiveness is a process, not a one-time event. Forgiveness doesn't always come easily or quickly. It's a process that can take time and often involves acknowledging the pain honestly, processing your emotions fully without judgment, choosing to let go of grudges, even if feelings of hurt persist, developing empathy or understanding, not always sympathy, for the person who hurt you, committing to release the burden, regardless of whether the other person seeks forgiveness. This process is deeply personal and unique to each individual and situation. Forgiving yourself, sometimes the hardest forgiveness is the one we owe ourselves, that we carry guilt, regret, and self-blame for. Mistakes we've made. Forgiving yourself is essential to move forward and grow. Remember, making mistakes is part of being human. Self-forgiveness is about learning, making amends if needed, and then releasing harsh self-judgment. When you forgive yourself, you heal from within. What forgiveness isn't? Letting people off the hook. Forgiveness is not about letting others off the hook for harmful behavior. Boundaries and accountability are still necessary. You can forgive someone and still choose to protect yourself by limiting contact or ending a relationship. Forgiveness is about freeing yourself from emotional bondage, not about allowing ongoing harm. How to practice forgiveness. Reflect. Write about the pain and what you feel. Express your hurt fully. Empathize. Try to see the situation from the other person's perspective, understanding their humanity without excusing their actions. Choose to forgive. Decide internally to release resentment. Affirm that forgiveness is for your peace. Let go of expectations. Forgiveness doesn't always come with apologies or reconciliation. Let go of needing validation. Focus on healing. Engage in practices like meditation, journaling, or therapy to support your emotional recovery. Be patient. Allow yourself time. Forgiveness is a journey, not a switch. The freedom on the other side. Choosing forgiveness is one of the most liberating gifts you can give yourself. It transforms pain into peace, bitterness into compassion, and victimhood into empowerment. Forgiveness frees you to live fully, love openly, and move forward unencumbered by past hurts. Final reflection. When you forgive, you release a heavy weight from your heart. You reclaim your power, dignity, and joy. Remember, forgiveness is not for the one who hurt you. It's for the one who was hurt. It is your path to freedom, healing, and peace. Choosing to forgive is choosing yourself. Chapter 15. Learn to listen more than you speak. In a world filled with noise, opinions, and endless chatter, one skill stands out as both rare and invaluable: the ability to truly listen. Listening is more than just hearing words. It is an active, intentional practice that fosters connection, understanding, and wisdom. Learning to listen more than you speak is a powerful life lesson, one that improves relationships, deepens knowledge, and expands your perspective. Why listening matters. Listening is the foundation of effective communication. Without it, conversations become one-sided, misunderstandings flourish and connections weaken. When you listen, you show respect and empathy. You create a space where others feel valued and heard. This builds trust and opens the door for genuine dialogue. Moreover, listening enriches your own understanding. You gain insights, ideas, and knowledge that you cannot access if you're only focused on expressing your own thoughts. The difference between hearing and listening: hearing is passive, the simple act of perceiving sound. Listening is active. It requires focus, attention, and effort. True listening means giving your full attention without distractions, avoiding interrupting or planning your response while the other person speaks, observing nonverbal cues like tone, body language, and emotion, reflecting back what you've heard to ensure understanding. When you listen actively, you engage both your mind and heart. The temptation to speak more: many people fill silence with words because they fear being misunderstood, feel the need to assert themselves, or simply want to share their own experiences. But speaking too much can crowd out others' voices and limit your own learning. It can also create barriers rather than bridges in relationships. Listening more than speaking is a sign of humility and confidence. It shows you value others' perspectives and recognize that you don't have all the answers. How listening builds relationships: relationships thrive on connection, and connection requires understanding. When you listen deeply, you validate others' feelings and experiences. You build empathy by seeing the world through their eyes. You reduce conflict by clarifying misunderstandings. You create a safe environment where honest conversations can happen. People naturally gravitate toward those who listen well because they feel genuinely cared for. Listening as a path to wisdom: listening is also a path to personal growth and wisdom. When you quiet your own voice and open your mind to others' ideas, you expand your horizons. You discover new perspectives, challenge your assumptions, and learn from experiences outside your own. Great leaders, teachers, and mentors are often excellent listeners because they understand the value of learning from others. Practical tips to listen better: be present. Put away phones and distractions. Focus fully on the speaker. Resist interrupting. Let the other person finish before responding. Ask open-ended questions. Encourage elaboration and depth. Use reflective listening. Paraphrase what you heard to confirm understanding. Observe body language. Notice emotions that words might not express. Practice patience. Allow silence without rushing to fill it. Manage your inner dialogue. Notice if you're planning a reply or judgment. Gently bring attention back to listening. The challenge of listening to difficult conversations: listening is especially important and difficult when the conversation involves disagreement or strong emotions. In these moments, listening disarms conflict. It helps you understand the root causes and find common ground. Practicing calm, non-defensive listening transforms arguments into opportunities for growth and resolution. The reward of listening more: when you make listening a habit, you'll notice profound changes, deeper, more meaningful relationships, increased trust and respect from others, greater empathy and emotional intelligence, expanded knowledge and understanding, enhanced problem-solving and collaboration skills. Listening is not passive. It's an active force that moves you toward connection and clarity. Final thoughts: learning to listen more than you speak is one of the most impactful life lessons you can embrace. It requires humility, patience, and presence. It invites you to step outside yourself and truly engage with others. By listening well, you enrich your relationships, deepen your wisdom, and open the door to a more meaningful and joyful life. Remember, your words have power, but your ability to listen has even greater power. Choose to listen first and watch your world transform. Chapter 16. Wealth is more than money. When most people hear the word wealth, their minds immediately jump to dollars, bank accounts, and material possessions. While financial security is undeniably important, true wealth goes far beyond the numbers in your bank balance. Wealth is a holistic concept, a rich tapestry woven from health, relationships, purpose, and peace of mind. Understanding this broader view of wealth can transform how you live, prioritize, and define success. The limits of money: money is a tool. It provides comfort, opportunities, and freedom to some degree. But it is not the sole measure of a rich life. Many wealthy people suffer from stress, loneliness, or dissatisfaction despite their financial status. Conversely, people with modest incomes often experience deep fulfillment through connections, purpose, and well-being. When wealth is viewed narrowly as money alone, it leaves many feeling empty, chasing an endless cycle of consumption that rarely leads to lasting happiness. Health, the foundation of wealth. Your physical and mental health are the most valuable forms of wealth you possess. Without good health, even vast riches lose their meaning. Investing time and energy into your well-being through nutrition, exercise, rest, and mental care creates a foundation that supports every other area of your life. Health is an asset that compounds over time. Neglect it, and no amount of money can fully replace it. Relationships, the currency of connection. Strong, authentic relationships with family, friends, and community are priceless. They offer support during hardship, celebrate your successes, and provide a sense of belonging. Emotional wealth built from trust, love, and connection nourishes the soul in ways money cannot. These relationships become your safety net, your joy, and your legacy. Investing in people pays dividends far beyond financial returns. Purpose and passion. The wealth of meaning. A life driven by purpose and passion is rich in motivation and satisfaction. When you engage in work or activities aligned with your deepest values, you experience a sense of fulfillment that no paycheck alone can provide. Purpose fuels resilience, creativity, and joy. It turns ordinary moments into meaningful ones and helps you navigate challenges with a clear sense of direction. Time. The most valuable asset. Time is the true currency of life. You cannot earn more of it, borrow it, or reclaim it once it's gone. Wealth includes having the freedom to spend your time on what matters most, whether that's with loved ones, pursuing hobbies, learning, or resting. Financial wealth is only truly valuable when it buys you time and freedom, not more obligations. Peace of mind. The hidden wealth. Inner peace, freedom from anxiety, stress, and fear, is an invaluable form of wealth. When your mind is calm, you make better decisions, experience greater happiness, and enjoy life more fully. Peace of mind comes from aligning your actions with your values, managing your emotions, and accepting what you cannot change. Without it, wealth can become a source of worry rather than comfort. Financial wealth as a tool, not the goal. Money is important. It provides options, security, and the ability to help others. But when money becomes the sole focus, it can lead to greed, stress, and imbalance. See financial wealth as a means to support the broader forms of wealth: health, relationships, purpose, time, and peace. This perspective creates a balanced life, where money serves your well-being rather than defines it. Building holistic wealth. To build true wealth, prioritize your health through regular self-care. Cultivate and nurture meaningful relationships. Align your work and life with your purpose and passions. Manage your time intentionally, valuing moments over money alone. Practice mindfulness and emotional management to cultivate peace. Use money wisely as a tool to enhance these areas, not replace them. Final reflection. Wealth is far more than the sum of your bank accounts. It is a rich combination of vitality, love, meaning, freedom, and peace. When you broaden your definition of wealth, you open the door to a fuller, more satisfying life. Remember, the richest people aren't always the wealthiest on paper. They are those who live richly in health, relationships, purpose, time, and peace. True wealth is holistic, and when cultivated, it brings enduring happiness beyond money. Chapter 17. You teach people how to treat you. The way people treat you often reflects the boundaries, standards, and behaviors you set. While it may seem like others' actions are beyond your control, the truth is you play a crucial role in shaping how you are treated. Learning that you teach people how to treat you is a profound life lesson, one that empowers you to take responsibility for your relationships, self-respect, and personal boundaries. Understanding the dynamics of treatment. From the moment we start interacting with others, we send subtle messages about what is acceptable and what is not. These messages come through our words, tone, body language, and especially through the boundaries we establish. If you allow disrespect, tolerate poor behavior, or avoid asserting your needs, people learn that such treatment is acceptable. Conversely, when you communicate clearly, enforce boundaries, and hold yourself with dignity, others respond accordingly. Boundaries, the The foundation of respect boundaries are invisible lines that define where you end and others begin. They clarify what you are comfortable with physically, emotionally, and mentally. Setting and maintaining healthy boundaries is essential. They protect your well-being and teach others how to interact with you respectfully. Without boundaries, people may unintentionally, or even deliberately, overstep, leading to frustration, resentment, or harm. How you communicate sets the tone. The way you express yourself matters deeply. If you communicate with confidence, clarity, and calm, you project strength and self-respect. On the other hand, vague, passive, or aggressive communication can lead to misunderstandings or mistreatment. Learning to speak up for yourself, using I statements, clear requests, and calm tones, teaches others that your feelings and needs matter. Saying no without guilt. One of the most powerful ways to teach others how to treat you is by saying no when something doesn't feel right. Saying no establishes limits and shows you value your time, energy, and values that it's important to do this without guilt or over-explaining. You don't owe anyone endless justification for your choices. When you consistently say no to what isn't right, people learn to respect your boundaries. The role of consistency is key. If you set boundaries but frequently allow them to be crossed, people become confused about your limits. By being consistent, both in enforcing your boundaries and in how you respond to behavior, you create clear expectations. This consistency builds respect over time and reduces the chances of mistreatment. Respect begins with self-respect. People can sense how you feel about yourself. When you respect yourself, others are more likely to follow suit. Practicing self-care, self-compassion, and self-acceptance builds inner confidence that radiates outward. When you value yourself, you send a powerful message that you deserve respect and kindness. Recognizing and addressing disrespect. Sometimes, despite your best efforts, people treat you poorly. Recognizing disrespect, whether it's subtle or overt, is crucial. You don't have to tolerate mistreatment in any form, be it criticism, manipulation, or neglect. Taking action might mean having difficult conversations, seeking support, or distancing yourself from toxic individuals. You have the right to protect your emotional and physical well-being. Empowerment through ownership. Accepting that you teach people how to treat you is empowering. It shifts you from victimhood to ownership. While you cannot control others' choices entirely, you control how you respond, what you accept, and the standards you uphold. This mindset opens the door to healthier, more respectful relationships. Practical steps to teach others how to treat you. Identify your personal boundaries clearly. Communicate those boundaries assertively and calmly. Practice saying no without over-explaining. Be consistent in enforcing your limits. Cultivate self-respect through daily self-care and positive self-talk. Address disrespect promptly and assertively. Surround yourself with people who honor and respect you. Final thoughts. You are the most important teacher in your life, especially when it comes to how others treat you. By setting boundaries, communicating clearly, and respecting yourself, you teach the world how to honor your value. Remember, respect is not something to beg for or hope for. It is something you command through your actions and standards. When you take ownership of this truth, you create a life filled with dignity, respect, and meaningful connection. Chapter 18. Embrace change. It's the only constant. Change is one of the few absolute certainties in life. From the moment we are born, we are moving through an ever-shifting landscape, physically, emotionally, and socially. Yet, despite this inevitability, many of us resist change, clinging tightly to comfort zones, routines, and the familiar. Learning to embrace change is a vital life lesson, one that frees you from fear, opens doors to growth, and equips you to thrive in an unpredictable world. The nature of change is not just occasional, it is continuous. The seasons cycle, technology advances, relationships evolve, and our own bodies and minds transform. Understanding this flow helps us realize that change is not an interruption to life, but life itself in motion. Resisting change is like trying to stop a river with your hands. It only leads to frustration and exhaustion. Why we resist change. Resistance to change is a natural response tied to fear of the unknown, loss of control, and discomfort. Our brains are wired to seek stability and predictability because these historically meant safety. But in today's complex and fast-moving world, clinging to old patterns can hinder progress and cause suffering. Change feels risky because it challenges our identity, routines, and expectations. The cost of resisting change: when you resist change, you miss opportunities for growth and learning, experience increased stress and anxiety, feel stuck, frustrated, or stagnant, damage relationships by refusing to adapt, lose resilience needed to face life's challenges. Resistance narrows your perspective and keeps you trapped in a limited version of yourself. Embracing change as a path to growth. Change is the soil in which personal growth takes root. When you embrace it, you develop adaptability and flexibility. You expand your comfort zone. You build resilience and emotional strength. You discover new possibilities and strengths you didn't know you had. You deepen your understanding of yourself and others. Change challenges you to grow beyond your current limitations and opens new doors to fulfillment. How to cultivate acceptance of change. Shift your mindset. See change as an opportunity, not a threat. Focus on what you can control. Accept that some aspects will change beyond your influence, but you control your response. Practice mindfulness. Stay present with your emotions around change without judgment. Seek learning. Ask, what can I learn from this change? Build support networks. Surround yourself with people who encourage and guide you through transitions. Be patient. Understand that adapting takes time, and it's okay to feel uncomfortable. The power of letting go. Embracing change often requires letting go of old habits, identities, relationships, or expectations. Letting go is an act of courage. It creates space for new experiences and growth. Holding on too tightly can stunt progress and deepen suffering. Learning to release what no longer serves you is a critical step in navigating change successfully. Stories of change and transformation. History is full of inspiring examples of individuals who embraced change and transformed their lives. Inventors who failed repeatedly before breakthroughs. Leaders who adapted to shifting circumstances to guide others. Artists who reinvented their style to stay relevant. Everyday people who embraced new careers, relationships, or mindsets. Their stories remind us that change, while challenging, can lead to profound success and fulfillment. Change and emotional resilience. Change often stirs strong emotions: fear, grief, excitement, or uncertainty. Developing emotional resilience helps you ride these waves rather than be overwhelmed. Resilience comes from self-compassion, optimism, and a belief in your ability to navigate whatever comes. Final thoughts. Change is not something to fear or avoid. It is the very essence of life's flow. When you embrace change, you step into a life of possibility, growth, and deeper understanding. Remember, the only constant is change. The choice is yours: resist and suffer, or accept and thrive. To be why embracing change, you unlock the power to create a richer, fuller life, one that flows with the rhythms of life rather than against them. Chapter 19. Your habits define your future. Every day, you make countless choices, many of them unconscious, that shape the direction of your life. These repeated actions, behaviors, and routines are what we call habits. While habits may seem small or insignificant in the moment, they hold extraordinary power over your future. Learning that your habits define your future is a transformative insight that empowers you to take control of your life through intentional daily actions. The power of habits. Habits are the building blocks of your life. They determine how you spend your time, how you manage your energy, and ultimately, what you achieve. That a single habit, repeated over time, compounds its effects, positive or negative. Much like interest in a bank account. For example, daily exercise strengthens your body and mind. Conversely, a habit of procrastination or negative thinking can hold you back. How habits form. Habits form through a loop of cue, routine, and reward. A cue triggers the behavior. The routine is the behavior itself, and the reward reinforces it. Over time, this loop becomes automatic, allowing your brain to conserve energy by turning frequent actions into habits. This automaticity is why habits are so powerful. They shape your behavior without requiring constant willpower. The importance of conscious habit formation. Because habits operate largely outside conscious awareness, it's crucial to intentionally create habits that support your goals and values. If left unchecked, Unproductive habits can steer you away from your desired future. Be why consciously choosing and nurturing positive habits, you direct your life toward growth, health, and success. The compound effect of habits. Small habits may seem trivial daily, but their cumulative impact over weeks, months, and years is profound. Consider these examples. Reading just 10 pages a day leads to dozens of books. Read annually, expanding knowledge and perspective. Saving a small amount of money regularly grows into significant financial security over time. Practicing kindness daily improves relationships and emotional well-being. This concept, known as the compound effect, means that consistent, positive habits shape a successful future. Breaking bad habits. Breaking unhelpful habits requires awareness and strategy. Because habits are automatic, simply willing yourself to stop often fails. Effective steps include identifying triggers and cues that prompt the habit, replacing the unwanted behavior with a healthier alternative, changing your environment to reduce temptation, seeking accountability through friends, coaches, or journaling, being patient and forgiving yourself for setbacks. Breaking bad habits frees mental and emotional space for positive growth. Building new habits. Building new habits can be challenging, but there are strategies to make it easier. Start small. Focus on tiny, manageable changes rather than drastic shifts. Attach new habits to existing routines. Habit stacking. For example, meditate right after brushing your teeth. Celebrate small wins to reinforce motivation. Track your progress to maintain awareness and commitment. Visualize the benefits and how the habit aligns with your deeper values. Habits and identity. Your habits don't just influence your future actions, they shape your identity. When you consistently act in alignment with certain behaviors, you begin to see yourself in that light. For example, someone who habitually exercises identifies as a healthy person. Shaping habits aligned with the person you want to become creates a positive feedback loop that reinforces growth. Habits as a foundation for success. Successful people across all fields credit their achievements to daily habits. Rather than relying on motivation alone, which can be fleeting, they design their environments and routines to make success inevitable. Good habits create momentum, making it easier to stay focused and overcome challenges. The role of mindset in habit change. A growth mindset. The belief that you can improve with effort supports habit formation. When you believe change is possible, you're more likely to persevere through setbacks and keep building new habits. Combining mindset work with habit strategies creates a powerful path to lasting transformation. Final thoughts. Your future is not shaped by chance or grand gestures, but by the habits you cultivate every day. To be why taking intentional control of your habits, you harness the power to design the life you want. Healthier, happier, more productive, and meaningful. Remember, success is the sum of small efforts repeated consistently. Choose your habits wisely because they define your future. Chapter 20. Love yourself first. Deeply in daily love is often spoken about as something we give to others, a romantic partner, family, friends, or even strangers. While giving love is vital, the foundation of all love begins with one essential relationship, the one you have with yourself. Learning to love yourself first, deeply and daily, is one of the most transformative and empowering lessons you can embrace. It shapes your happiness, confidence, and the quality of every relationship in your life. Why loving yourself matters. When you love yourself, you honor your worth, accept your imperfections, and nurture your well-being. Self-love is not selfish or narcissistic. It is the root from which genuine compassion and connection grow. Without self-love, you may find yourself seeking approval from others, tolerating disrespect, or neglecting your needs. With self-love, you create a stable inner foundation that sustains you through life's challenges. The difference between self-love and self-esteem. While related, self-love and self-esteem are distinct. Self-esteem often depends on achievements and external validation. It can fluctuate based on success or failure. Self-love is unconditional acceptance of yourself, regardless of circumstances or mistakes. Cultivating self-love means embracing all parts of yourself, the strengths, flaws, and everything in between. The journey to deep self-love. Loving yourself deeply is a lifelong journey, not a destination. It involves self-awareness, understanding your thoughts, feelings, and patterns without judgment, self-compassion, treating yourself with kindness when you falter or face difficulties. Forgiveness, letting go of past mistakes. And embracing growth. Authenticity, allowing yourself to be real and vulnerable without masks. Boundaries, protecting your energy and well-being by saying no when needed. This journey requires patience and gentleness with yourself. Daily practices. To nurture self-love flourishes through daily habits and intentional choices. Affirmations. Speak kindly to yourself. Replace self-criticism with positive, affirming statements. Mindfulness. Spend time connecting with your thoughts and emotions with curiosity and care. Self-care. Prioritize rest, nutrition, movement, and activities that replenish you. Journaling. Reflect on your feelings, celebrate wins, and process challenges. Gratitude. Acknowledge your unique qualities and appreciate your efforts. Celebrate small wins. Recognize progress, no matter how small. Consistent daily practices build a resilient foundation of self-love. Overcoming barriers to self-love. Many struggle with self-love due to negative self-talk and limiting beliefs, past traumas or criticism from others, societal pressures, and unrealistic standards. Comparing yourself to others. Awareness is the first step to overcoming these barriers. Seeking support through therapy, coaching, or trusted relationships can also aid your journey. The ripple effect of loving yourself. When you love yourself deeply, it radiates outward. You set healthier boundaries and attract respectful relationships. You communicate your needs clearly and confidently. You become more compassionate toward others. You inspire others to embrace their worth. You live with greater joy, peace, and authenticity. Self-love transforms not just your life, but the lives of those around you. Loving yourself does not mean perfection. Self-love embraces imperfection. It is not about being flawless, but being fully human. It means accepting your mistakes and learning from them, rather than beating yourself up. It means valuing progress over perfection. Final reflection. Love yourself first, deeply and daily, not as a luxury, but as a necessity. It is the wellspring of your happiness, confidence, and resilience. By nurturing this essential relationship with yourself, you unlock the capacity to give and receive love freely. Remember, you are worthy of your own love exactly as you are. Choose to love yourself fiercely and gently every single day. Conclusion. The life you build, one lesson at a time. As we reach the end of this journey through 20 essential life lessons, it's important to pause and reflect on the remarkable power you hold. The life you live today and the future you create are the results of the choices you make, the habits you nurture, and the wisdom you embrace, one lesson at a time. Life is not built in giant leaps or perfect moments. It is shaped quietly, steadily, and powerfully by the small decisions you make every day. Each lesson you learn, each habit you form, and each mindset shift you adopt contributes a single brick to the foundation of your life. The power of small steps. Sometimes the challenges and complexities of life can feel overwhelming. The goals you set may seem distant, and the path forward unclear. But remember, even the tallest buildings start with a single brick laid carefully in place. Each lesson you internalize, whether it's taking responsibility, embracing change, or loving yourself first, strengthens your foundation. These lessons compound over time, guiding you toward a life that reflects your true values, purpose, and potential. Growth is a lifelong journey. This book is not an endpoint, but a starting point. Learning and growth don't stop here. Life will continue to present new challenges, opportunities, and experiences that invite you to deepen your understanding and apply these lessons in new ways. Embrace the mindset of a lifelong learner. Be curious, be open, and be willing to adapt. With each new day, you have the chance to build a better version of yourself and craft a richer life story. Embracing your responsibility and power. You are the architect of your own life. While you cannot control every circumstance or outcome, you have complete control over how you respond and what you choose to focus on. Taking full responsibility empowers you to move from victimhood to agency. It is the foundation of freedom, the freedom to create, to change, and to thrive. The importance of compassion and patience. Building a meaningful life is not about perfection or rushing to the finish line. It requires patience with yourself and others, and compassion for the inevitable setbacks and mistakes along the way. Celebrate your progress, however small, and forgive yourself when you stumble. Each moment is an opportunity to begin again. A life of intention and purpose. Ultimately, the life you build is one defined by intention. When your actions align with your deepest values and lessons, you live authentically and fully. This alignment brings clarity, fulfillment, and peace. It allows you to contribute your unique gifts to the world and leave a lasting impact. Your invitation moving forward: take these lessons as tools, ready to support you whenever you need them. Revisit them, reflect on them, and integrate them into your daily life. Know that every step you take toward growth is a step toward freedom and joy. Your journey is unique, and your potential is boundless. Final thought: the life you desire is not a distant dream, but a reality built steadily, thoughtfully, and courageously, one lesson at a time. Begin today. Choose growth. Choose love. Choose to live the life you were meant to live. Your future is yours to build.